From Forex Traders Daily, this is your daily analysis with Ross Mullins, live from Richmond, Virginia.
Hello everyone, this is today's video analysis for July 14th, 2016. Today we're going to be taking a look at the USDCAD, the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar for today's trade analysis. But first, a recap of one of the trades that we have been talking about in the live trade room over the past few days, and that is a sell into the resistance level on the New Zealand dollar. You can see here on the daily time frame, the pink shaded area at the very top of the chart, that's up there close to 7,300, 72.95 up to 73.30 is where we had our resistance zone placed over the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. We have found resistance into that pink shaded area. We discussed this yesterday as a potential trading opportunity into that pink zone in the live trade room. If you as well took the sell into the 72.95 level, 7,300 as I did, you can see the trade going down here at the very bottom of the chart. You've seen over 100 pips of profit earlier today, currently sitting about 87 pips of profit. But we've seen it pushing underneath our support zone, the green shaded area. We needed to break that. Still hasn't done that, but we need to break down to the support zone for further profit back down. What I'm doing, of course, is locking in with the stop loss. I've locked in with the stop loss using the trade manager, of course, and I have actually closed the majority of profit on the trade. You can see only 2 of the 5 lots still going on the trade that we entered during the live trade room. Down to the 4-hour time frame, it is promising that we can see the 4-hour candlesticks underneath that green shaded area. If they stay there, then we'll likely look for the continuation down towards the blue shaded area. So we need it to stay underneath this green zone, basically around 72.20, 72.50, if we're going to see the continuation down to the blue shaded area. You can see the trend line here. Of course, we'd like to see the market touch down into that trend line as well. That's, again, down towards the 71.80 level. Of course, the other side of that is if it turns back higher, breaks back above 72.50, we're likely back into the resistance highs, which is the pink shaded area up there at the top of the chart. I'm trying to get an arrow put there. So that's what we're looking at today on the New Zealand dollar. Hopefully we'll see the continuation lower. If you're not in the short from the pink zone, I would probably watch for continued hold underneath the green shaded area, and let's look for the bulls, the U.S. bulls, to take back control of this currency pair and send it back lower once again on the New Zealand dollar. A couple of other things that I've been watching for the day today. Of course, we've been studying the resistance here on the Australian dollar as well into the 76.45 level. We're keeping an eye on that, see that if that may become a trading opportunity for us as well. USDCHF, looking at the dip right now happening, the fall right now happening on the dollar franc. Interesting here, coming in towards the 100 period moving average into the mid 9700s, the yellow shaded area here. I might be looking for an opportunity into that yellow shaded area, looking for a bounce on the sellers today into that support zone. Other side of that would be the euro dollar coming up into the 1175, just underneath the 112 level, the pink shaded area that you see here. I'm looking for the market once again, just like it did back here, to find resistance into that 1175 level. Now let's take it over to the USDCAD. Looking at the daily time frame, previous downtrend, that's not too hard to see. But since then, we've been in somewhat of a contraction pattern, triangle pattern here. You can see the black trend line on top, the blue trend line on the bottom. We see rising lows along the blue trend line, falling highs along the black trend line. Let's go ahead and begin to zoom it in here a couple of times on the daily time frame so we can really get a sense of what's been happening. Again, there's our resistance highs up here towards the 131.40, 60 level, the yellow shaded area. We've seen a couple of times challenging into there. We now see the rising lows. So with that, the steady highs and the rising lows that we've seen here, we might even begin to interpret this more like a ascending type of triangle rather than a falling triangle. If I take that black trend line, let me see if I can get it selected here and move it more like this. Let me see if I can move it around just a little bit here. I'm going to put it more horizontal fashion. If we put that horizontal trend line now right there towards the top of that triangle, you can see rising lows, fairly steady highs along that area where that black trend line is. So that might be more of a clue that the buyers are in more dominating control than the sellers here for the USCAD. The Forex Black Book also over the past several days has turned green, giving us some upside momentum. viewed on the weekly time frame. Down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see the rising blue trend line there that we just had. We can see the horizontal black trend line sitting up here at the top of the chart. So again, I think we're in a more predominant rising trend pattern than we are a falling trend pattern with the rising lows. So with that, I'm looking for a buy scenario, a buy on dips into support. My preference would be to buy it as low as possible. I would like to see it down here. 128.70 is the orange shaded area. That would give us a pretty decent buy price here for the USCAD. Let's take a couple of Fibonacci retracement measurements here on the chart. Just one simple one would be from the last low that you see right here to the current resistance high. Interesting there, that puts the 886 fib right at the top of our orange shaded area. If we did go out a little bit further to this low back here to the current resistance high, interesting enough there, that puts the 618 Fibonacci retracement level right there inside that orange shaded area as well. So some interesting things lining up there, the trend line, Fibonacci right there into that low. So as close as possible to 2870 I think would be the best opportunity if we're going to decide to go long for the USCAD. On the other side, of course, we have broken underneath today, at least our previous support, which was right around the 129.60, 129.90 level, the blue shaded area here. We are underneath there. So that gives me a little bit of hope that we're going to look for the market to head on back down towards the orange shaded area. But again, I think that's against the rising trend pattern that we saw there. So I'm not really ready to take into a short or sell here for the currency pair. So even though we're under the blue zone, the biggest thing I'm going to be looking for is one of two things: a fall back to the orange zone or the break back above the blue zone. One other thing that we've been discussing in the live trade room, of course, are the oil prices and how the correlation between rising and falling oil prices can affect the USCAD pair. In this case, what we'd be looking for, if we're looking for this to go up, we'd look for falling oil prices. Well, if we just take one peek at one of the oil charts that we're looking at here, the US dollar oil chart that you can see here on MT4, we're underneath the resistance, that purple shaded area. You see the three black X's as support, and we're underneath that right now. That's 46.25, 47.45. So as long as we're underneath that resistance, that purple shaded area, I think there's a potential for oil prices to continue to fall back down towards the yellow shaded area. Even if you look at the UK oil chart, a very similar situation here on the UK oil chart. 1, 2, 3 support lows where the black X's are. We're underneath that blue shaded area. So that, again, tends to lead us to believe we could be looking for a turn lower in oil prices. Now, if it breaks back above that blue zone or the purple zone on the US oil chart, that changes things. But right now we have a falling trend pattern on oil prices. You can see the two red trend lines on both of those charts. That falling pattern also means that we might be looking for a rise in the USCAD, because that's not great news for the Canadian currency pair. So we'd look for that to turn higher. So any dips into support or breaks of resistance here for the USCAD become an opportunity for us to trade on the USCAD.
From Forex Traders Daily, this has been your daily analysis with Ross Mullins. If you would like to get Ross's analysis on all the currency pairs he's watching and all the trades he takes today, join him in his live trade room by clicking on the link below. Please leave any comments you have about today's video in the comments section below.